Okay, so I think this actually finally gets kind of around to, I think what you were disagreeing with what I was saying, Kevin. But I think so identifying, even though you didn't experience something, you identify with pain and misfortune, even though you never experienced that. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So my point originally was, how useful is it when you're talking about experiences that are in the past and that are not happening anymore?
That are not happening anymore.
Yes. So
I think
again,
that really, I think that would be where the disagreement lie. You think it's not happening anymore. The person who's speaking out against the issue think it's still happening.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, so I don't think you heard what I was saying before.
My
Should
apologies.
should I so my mother was born Jim Crow South, 1950s, disabled at birth because the doctor paralyzed her arm because he pulled her up by her arm, right? Horrific, right? Does that happen anymore?
No, I don't think so.
So, do you think it's useful for me to take on her pain?
In the sense that we can acknowledge that the reason, we can acknowledge that the issue that she experienced in the past somewhat explain some of the situation you're in today. That's that would be my answer to that question.
But
I
the
don't
thing,
think you're obligated to speak out. I
I
don't
know
think it's bad
I'm
purpose.
not talking about speaking out. I'm talking about taking on the pain as your own, as if it actually did happen to you, and the usefulness of this in order to move forward. I am disagreeing with that idea. My mother's experiences, no one can take those things away from her, but no one needs to feel her pain for her in order to
Mhm.
validate her experiences. And I think that that is a misstep in terms of discourse today, in which people think that you have to take on the pain in order to address the issues, and
I,
I disagree with that.
I think we're reading the situation in two different ways. I do not get that feelings from people when I see them protest. When I listen to people speak, my understanding of what they are protesting is that, hey, there are structural imbalances in place that was put in before us centuries and centuries a year ago. And while there has been some redress, the consequence of those atrocities are still felt today, and we need structural change to
Okay.
change those atrocities. That is what I'm getting from it.
Yeah,
I'm not
but
hearing people saying that we need to identify,
yeah,
we are
yeah,
feeling
I,
those
I
pain
get
or
that. I get
whatsoever. I'm
that.
not
But
getting that. I'm not getting it.
you kind of like you were assuming that I was talking about activists and people who are speaking out. I'm talking about people, regular families who teach the wound to their kids, that cause the children to feel raw and to actually kind of go out into the world to experience more pain than they would. And I think that I see that as a problem. Right. I'm not talking about just the activists. I'm saying, like, there was something that happened earlier this year, remote work. And I was having an issue with a team that I was placed with temporarily. And my parents kind of brought up, like, oh, they're doing it because you're black. And so they were kind of wanting me to activate this kind of feeling of, okay, I'm being racially discriminated against. Except, here's the
Hmm.
fact, I never turned on my camera. They had no clue who I was. So the dysfunctions in that situation had nothing to do with race, but they wanted me to think of
Yeah,
it
I
in a
get it.
racial way in order
Hmm.
to potentially solve the situation. And that would have been a mistake because it was definitely not a racial thing. So
I
I see that sometimes, because we are teaching the wound and we're causing people to be biased towards certain issues, that people are proposing certain incorrect solutions, when if we kind of weren't already biased or vulnerable to these ideas based off of past people teaching us their trauma from their past, I think
mhm.
that it would we would it would we would be able to actually find more practical and actually find solutions to problems, instead of just sometimes working on the biases that our parents gave us.